All right, hello everybody. Hello. We're gonna start up this stream pretty soon here. Thanks for those of you who are tuning in early. We said we were gonna start this at 3:30, but I've got my coffee. It brewed up more quickly than I expected, so I figured we'd start out now. How's it going? We're gonna give it a couple minutes here to let people come in and join the stream. And of course, you need to hear me too, so I'm gonna bring my mic up like this. I'm guessing that is a lot better. I was just saying, if you couldn't hear me before, that we're going to be starting the stream here pretty shortly. I'm just going to give a couple minutes for people to hop on in so that they can catch everything that's going on. If you didn't hear the news, benefits are being extended. This is something we've been following for quite a while. And finally now the government's come out with an answer. We've been watching it. You might have seen those videos with the CRB extension tags on the video. And that was covering all of the news leading up to whether or not there was going to be an extension. Now we have the announcement there will be an extension. It's going to be for 3 months. We're going to go over in this video the press conferences that have details about this. We're going to go over the different news articles that could have more information about this than was originally announced at around 12:30 is when it started out. And we're going to hang out a little bit and talk a little bit about this. If you guys have some questions, we can cover that too. I'm just seeing chat pop up here. There's a little bit of delay in the stream, so if I don't reply to your message right away, that's totally the fault of the lag on the stream. But let me pull this up. I'm going to get my chat going here so I can read all of your messages. We like to try to get full Canadian representation on these streams, so let me know where you're from. And again, if you have any questions, you can drop them in there as we go. We're going to be stopping and starting and getting through all this information and trying to answer all of your questions. Hey, yeah, thanks. I see lots of people starting to get in here. We've got Kadava Boys, Steve. We've got Mario, John, Marcus, Didi, Cyril, Explorando. I've seen you in here before. Rhonda, Glenn, Abo, Anais. Thank you so much for hopping in here, guys. All right, let's get this rolling. I'm going to take a sip of my coffee here. So good. Thanks for hopping in, everybody. We've got people from Toronto, Emma, Tanya, Jean-Francois, Glenn, Zero, Marshall, Moxie. Everyone's hanging out. Okay, thank you for hopping in, everybody. Let's get to this new information. Okay, so I'm going to throw on my headphones here, and we're going to start with the press conference that was held by Justin Trudeau just today. Now, I wasn't expecting to do any videos today. I thought, okay, it doesn't seem like there's going to be any new news when it comes to these benefits and when it comes to all of this, because typically there's a little bit of a hint that we're going to expect this sort of announcement to come up. That's certainly what happened when they announced the changes to the interest rates, or not the interest rates, but rather the changes to paying interest on taxes for these benefits this year, essentially the 1-year tax deferral that they offered. That was our last live stream. We had an idea that was going to happen. Today, it was sort of out of the blue saying, hey guys, we're going to just drop this on you. It was even labeled, this initial live stream, the press conference that the Prime Minister held, it was labeled as the Prime Minister speaks on COVID-19 regulations. Nothing about benefits, right? But he just dropped that bomb. So let's hop over there and let's take a look at that video. I just released a video on this topic as well, covering some of this same stuff, but we're going to take a more detailed look at it here during this live stream today. Again, thanks for hopping in, everybody. It's great to see everyone here. I know some of you have watched my videos. Thanks so much for watching. It's nice to actually get to meet you here. Very cool. All right, so let me pull this up so I can show you this press conference. We're gonna get this up so everyone can see it. I'll ask you to let me know if you can see everything very clearly. You should be able to see my YouTube here. And it's on CPAC. This is the government, or rather the public access government information. So this is where they sort of live stream everything. So if you're interested in the news yourself and you want to follow things throughout the day as they progress, then this is the best place to do it. And that's where I get a lot of my video clips for videos I do. All right. So let's get this started. I'm seeing people in the chat. We got Kyle, we got Tito. Thanks so much for hopping in, everybody. Hope you're having a good day. I know for a lot of people this is an important announcement, but without any further ado, let's find this spot where he announces this.
New measures like the sickness benefit.
Okay, that's probably a little bit loud for you. Let me crank that down a little bit.
Well, this crisis isn't
over. A little
over.
bit more. That should be good now.
Neither is our support
Okay.
for everyone.
Here's
And
the
on that
announcement.
front, I have some important news to share.
Here it is.
To begin with, we are extending the Canada Recovery Benefit and the Canada Recovery Caregiving Benefit by 12 weeks. That makes the new maximum you can claim 38 weeks in total. If you need support while you look for a job, or if you have to stay home to take care of your family, these benefits will continue to be there for you. We're also extending the Canada Recovery Sickness Benefit from the current 2 weeks to a new total of 4 weeks. No one should be going to work sick right now. It's that simple. And finally, we are increasing the help available under regular EI claims to 50 weeks in total, meaning 24 more weeks that you can use if you need it. Les temps sont
All right,
durs.
and he repeats that in French there. So some major takeaways there, right? He just announced the extension that a lot of people were waiting for the CRB, but not just the CRB. They're doing it for the CRB, the CRCB, and the CRSB. Now, if you're not familiar with those other benefits, that's the Canada Recovery Sickness Benefit and the Canada Recovery Caregiver Benefit. And those are two very different benefits from each other. You'll remember the CRSB, that's the sickness benefit, right? And typically that gave you 2 weeks to stay home from work and get sick pay from the federal government. If you had a health professional, I believe they claimed it had to be advice from a health professional. Who that actually is a little bit up for debate, and there's a whole list on their website of what fits into that category. But if you were advised to stay home, you're going to be able to get 2 weeks of sick pay. They've extended that now to 4. There's been a lot of pressure from Jagmeet Singh in the House of Commons, the NDP, really pushing for this. He was the one who sort of pressured the government to get this to be something that was included in the first place, and now he was pressuring more to get it extended. But there was a little bit of a problem when it came to actually applying for these benefits and the documents you had to provide in order to take this sick leave. So it's interesting to see that they didn't really address some of the major concerns, which was the quickness in which these benefits could be issued, but they went on and extended it. Another interesting thing that's part of this is that the Liberals were trying to say, hey, we're going to offload this to the provinces. We already have our 2 week sick leave. We want the provinces to take care of this problem, give more sick leave. I've been following Doug Ford here in Ontario. That's where I live. And he was asked multiple times by multiple different reporters, hey, what are you going to do about this sick pay issue? The federal government said that the provinces should be handling it. The provinces should be handling it. And to that, many premiers responded, hey, we're not going to do it. The sick benefit is already there from the federal government. So I found it interesting that they sort of changed course a little bit and announced that. It's great seeing everybody in here. We're going to get more and more into the details of this, but if you're just joining the stream, the major news is that the CRB is going to be extended 3 months. So if you're applying for the CRB right now, and that's a benefit that you're on right now, because of course it's tough to get work right now, if that's something that you're dealing with, you're going to have an extra 3 months. Now, if you've been applying for the benefit since the beginning of all of this, that would be back in October when this benefit first came into existence, then before this announcement, your benefits were going to run out at the end of March, at the end of your 13 application periods. But now they say they're going to extend it an additional 12 weeks or an additional 6 application periods. You'll remember 2 weeks per application period. So that is the major news. I'm going to take a pause here. We're going to go listen to more. He doesn't have any more to say in terms of the questions that are asked of him by the reporters, but there is another federal minister press conference that we're going to take a look at in a second. But after that first announcement, I kind of wanted to chat with you a little bit. Thanks so much for hopping in the chat, everybody. We're seeing around 220 people hanging out with us. It's great to see you here. Feel free to like this video if you appreciate this sort of content, and this also, when you like it, it spreads it out to more people who might be looking for this sort of news. Also, let me know where you're from, and also if you have any questions. I'm going to take a look at the chat here. Oh my goodness, so many people saying so many things. I'm deep into my 3rd coffee of the day. That's why I'm talking so quickly, if you're wondering. Okay, I'm going to take a breath here. What's up, you guys? Let's see if there's any questions or any thoughts about this. I see here, Minnie C. Riley says, I only because I am self-employed and not getting EI, CRB is my option, or disability support is my last resort. Okay. Yeah, Decker's in here saying, yes, extension on CRB. Yeah, thanks for tuning in, Decker. You're a regular watcher. I always see the comments. All right. Shots come out in June. If you don't get a shot, you won't get the money by then. Yeah, it could be interesting that they've sort of changed the benefit timelines. I'm going to make this a full cam for a little bit. It's interesting that they changed it so it's going to go until the end of June. Now, you'll have heard the Prime Minister many, many times say that every person in Canada will be able to be vaccinated if they want to be by September. That's the date that he's given multiple times, and that's the date that we're going to have to hold him to, and many politicians will hold him to for the whole rollout of this. It's interesting that maybe they chose June for the end of these benefits. There's still going to be about a 2-month gap in there, right? If June is when we're able to open up the economy fully again, because everybody who wants to be vaccinated will be vaccinated, that still leaves 2 months, right? You got April, May, June, that's the extension. Then there's July and August where essentially there's going to be no benefits, and there's still 2 more months before everyone can be vaccinated. But who knows where things will be at that point. The world seems to change so quickly these days. You never really know. But that's a really good point. Good point. I just saw that in chat. All right, seeing more people in here. Thanks so much for hanging out, everybody. It's great to see everyone and meet you in person live like this. I get to see you guys watching the videos, which is so cool, but it's nice to talk to you live. Alex says, Russell, I want to say thank you. You've been helping my friends and family so much. You're blessed. Oh, thank you, Alex. That's so nice of you to say. What about people who have been taking EI from the beginning? Now, EI is something that I'm not as up to date with all of the nuanced complications in the application process. I believe that there are issues that you need to look into with how many insurable hours you've worked, right? You have to meet a certain threshold to get a certain amount of time, or at least that's my understanding. So if you have the maximum amount of insurable hours, it should be that if you are on these EI general benefits, that you may be able to benefit from this extension, which is 24 weeks. You just heard Trudeau there. Maybe we'll play that again in a moment so you can hear it right from the horse's mouth again. All right. Chelsea says, hey, I'm a huge fan. Can you say happy birthday? Happy birthday, Chelsea. Happy birthday. Thanks for spending some of your birthday in here with us. I hope this is good news for you, or at least some people you know. All righty. We've got Anas. You've got very good information to share. Yeah, a lot of people are going to be happy about this today. Nancy says, thanks a lot, Russell. Oh, thank you guys for the kind words. Prince George, BC. Mark's from Prince George. So cool. Yeah, happy birthday to Chelsea. Thanks for your valuable information. Awesome. When will mortgage default protection end for Canadians? Well, if you're talking about the mortgage deferral program, that has already ended. That ended back in September. That's something that people thought that, hey, the housing market is going to crash after people aren't able to defer their mortgages anymore. It seems like that may not be the case. That being said, banks don't really want to foreclose on properties. So you would expect them to sort of kick the can down the road and say, hey, let me help you try to start making payments again, rather than foreclosing right away. So that could still be in the future if there's still low unemployment, but that's something that I'm interested in. If you guys don't know, I'm a realtor in the Greater Toronto area as my full-time job. So whenever I'm not making a YouTube video, I'm working on that. So that's why I'm passionate about talking about that stuff too. Great question. All right. Still fighting with EI and CRA, 7 weeks, no money, still locked out, government not there for every Canadian. I've heard lots of stories of that, of people having these tricky situations where for some reason, maybe they need to provide documentation, and there's been delays to the CRA's ability to sort through that documentation. It's caused a lot of people to have to wait around for an extended amount of time. Now, the CRA does say that they're going to be hiring more people, bringing in outside contractors or call center workers to be able to answer questions so that they can hopefully reduce these CRA wait times. But whether or not that's actually going to work remains to be seen. They also were trying to put in a callback system, right? Where you could call in instead of waiting in line, they'll call you back when it's your turn. Now that hasn't been working too well either, because just this week we've seen 4-hour wait times for many people. All right, I'm going to play this announcements by Justin Trudeau one more time for anyone who's just hopping into the stream now. The CRB has been extended 3 months. That's 6 more application periods, but I'll let you hear it from Trudeau himself. We'll also go into the federal ministers update, where they have a little bit more information about how these changes are actually going to be made.
That makes the
All right,
fall.
let's find the right spot.
We extended fall. We extended
Okay, here it
programs
is.
like the wage subsidy and introduced new measures like the sickness benefit. Well, this crisis isn't over. Neither is our support for everyone. And on that front, I have some important news to share. To begin with, we are extending the Canada Recovery Benefit and the Canada Recovery Caregiving Benefit by 12 weeks. That makes the new maximum you can claim 38 weeks in total. If you need support while you look for a job, or if you have to stay home to take care of your family, these benefits will continue to be there for you. We're also extending the Canada Recovery Sickness Benefit from the current 2 weeks to a new total of 4 weeks. No one should be going to work sick right now. It's that simple. And finally, we are increasing the help available under regular EI claims to 50 weeks in total, meaning 24 more weeks that you can use if you need it.
So that was the bulk of the announcement, right? So we've been waiting for this for a while. He's been hinting at it, and the entire Liberal Party has really been hinting at it with their talking points. Now, a lot of people aren't a fan of the Liberals because it seems a lot of the time in the House of Commons, they sort of default to the same few things to say and to respond to every question with without getting into more detail. And one of those talking points that they've been using for quite a while is, we will support Canadians until the end of this. We've got your back. They, for some reason, have been emphasizing, we've got your back. Maybe that polls well. But that's been their talking point, and that's what they've been saying for the past while. And now they're sort of backing it up with decisions and action based on that. So now we're going to flip over here. I'm going to go back to full cam and let me pull up on the screen so you can see it, the federal minister update. Now, if you haven't watched one of these updates before on CPAC, usually the Prime Minister, Justin Trudeau in this case, he'll do his announcement, but then he won't actually reveal all the details about it. He'll sort of toss the football to his federal ministers. And in this case, that's Carla Qualtrough. She's the employment minister, the Minister of Employment for Canada, and she goes into a little bit more detail in this more broad federal minister update. Let me pull that up for you. All right. And so this is the federal minister update. Now, a lot of this isn't specifically about benefits. So I'm going to do my best to sort of cut around to the parts that, obviously, if you click this video, you're mostly interested in these benefits. So we're going to flip through. I can sort of scroll down here to, yeah, okay. So Carla Qualtrough is the one we want to be looking for because she'll be talking on this stuff. Let's find some spots.
Je suis heureuse de me joindre à les travailleurs lors de cette pandémie.
I'm going to turn this up
Back
for you.
when we introduced the recovery benefits and flexibilities to the EI program,
Here's some more
we
details.
said that we would monitor labor market changes and make adjustments as needed. We're still very much in a time of crisis. Restrictions are in place across the country to slow the spread of the virus. We know this is still a really difficult time for many workers and their families. Today's announcement reflects this reality. Nous avons évalué le marché du travail actuel et nous respectons notre engagement.
What she's saying is they've noticed that there's still unemployment. There's still
we are pleased
problems.
to announce that we're going to increase the number of weeks of benefits available for the Canada Recovery Benefit, the Canada Recovery Sickness Benefit, the Canada Recovery Caregiving Benefit, and Employment Insurance Regular Benefits. As some workers could begin exhausting their benefits in late March, this increase will ensure continued support as Canada's economy and labour force continue to recover. We'll be increasing the number of weeks available under the Canada Recovery Benefit and the Canada Recovery Caregiving Benefit by 12 weeks, thus extending the maximum duration of the benefits from 26 weeks to up to 38 weeks. And we'll be increasing the maximum number of weeks available under the Canada Recovery Sickness Benefits from 2 to 4 weeks. We will make these changes through regulation. We also intend to increase EI regular...
Let's pause on that for a second. You might have noticed her just there saying, we will make these changes with regulation. So that's sort of hinting at the fact that they're not planning on making these changes through actual changes to the legislation, changes to the laws that brought these benefits into place. Now, you'll remember with the CERB, when they were transitioning that to CRB, they had to create an entirely new program. And as a result, they had to wait on all of the debates that happened in the House of Commons. Now, if a Conservative MP were here, they'd likely say we weren't too happy with the fact that they rushed through these measures and we couldn't debate it and find these loopholes. That's been a big issue with these benefits for a lot of people, and MPs have brought that up in the House of Commons. But regardless of how quickly they went through it in the House of Commons last time, at least for this, we know that these CRB changes, CRCB changes, CRSB changes, the changes to these benefits, it seems they will not have to go through that House of Commons process, which means it's a little bit faster. They don't have to work through the red tape of actually getting everybody to vote on it and then passing it up through Senate for all of its multiple readings and then waiting for it to receive royal assent for it to be actually a law and have this bill be passed. No, that's not what's going to happen here. It seems with the CRB extension, they're not going to have to wait on that. Instead, it's likely going to be a directive to the CRA to change their information on their website and to change the way they manage this benefit. Now, I'm not a total expert on what can be done via law, changing of these bills, and what can be changed via these directives sent to the CRA or regulation. But that seems to be my interpretation of it, that they're not going to have to push this through the House of Commons, which is a big deal for a lot of people because it means essentially, to sum this all up, it means that there's not going to be a delay, right? Like we saw with the CERB. For many people who were on the CERB and need to transition to CRB back in October when that opened up, there was a delay because of this delay that was in Senate and in the House of Commons, even though they did push it through quite quickly on House of Commons terms, very quickly in comparison to other things. So that should be a net benefit for a lot of people. Let's keep listening to what she has to say.
Other benefits. Workers will be eligible for up to 50 weeks for claims established between September 27th, 2020 and September 25th, 2021. This change will have to be made through legislation. Collaboration by...
So there's the difference. EI is going to have to be changed through legislation. So it's going to have to go through the House of Commons, and the Conservatives and the NDP will all have to agree on this before it's passed through. And she's about to say here, I watched this a little bit before this stream. I'll let you hear what she says and tell you what I think is significant.
By opposition parties will be important in ensuring this continued support.
I'll back it up.
When we've worked together in the collaboration by opposition parties will be important in ensuring this continued support. When we've worked together in the past, we've delivered key supports to help millions of workers. Canadians expect the same of all parties again. Ensemble, la prolongation des prestations régulières de l'assurance-emploi et les prestations de relance sont ce que les Canadiens ont besoin pour traverser.
So why I think that's significant. She's saying, okay, because we have to change these things about EI and we have to push it through the House of Commons, she's saying we need to have the support from the Conservatives on this in order to actually make these changes for many people whose EI is running out. They're not going to be able to do that through regulation. They need to do that through legislation, working in the House of Commons, passing it through Senate, royal assent. So if Conservatives don't cooperate with this, or if they have any pushback for the way that this is rolled out, then it could get stalled in the House of Commons for a little bit. She's saying, hey, we've worked together in the past. We hope that you're going to work together with us on this too. Now, who knows if the Conservatives are going to work with them as seamlessly as they would like. Oftentimes it's important to sort of suss out what changes need to be made in the proper verbiage to be used in any new bill so that there's not any loopholes created, right? That's why it's important to take your time with these sort of things. So it'll be interesting to see what happens if the Conservatives choose not to support this and the Liberals won't make any concessions on the way they want to do things. Well, we've been talking here about a possible election coming, and that could potentially be cause for an election, right? If the Conservatives don't support this and the Liberals take it as a point of contention and they're going to have a vote of no confidence, then that would trigger an election. It'd be interesting to see what happens there. That's the bulk of that minister update. Let me flip over here to the full cam, and let's take a minute. There's one more question that they ask of Carla Qualtrough in this update, but I want to take a second because we've gone over a lot of stuff, and because I'm talking to you just like I am right now, I haven't been able to look over here at the chat. So thank you so much for joining me here, guys. I love doing this and talking to you live and bringing these videos, and I hope to keep on doing it as we move into the future, whether it be about benefits or politics or basically whatever you're interested in. I'd love to keep on creating here. I've had a lot of fun doing it, and I think it's been helpful for some people. So let's take a minute here and I'll get to know you, and let me know if you have any questions in the chat. I'm going to do my best to read through it. We're seeing Alex in the chat here saying people need to move past these infantile delusions of liberals versus conservatives. They are both the same thing. The conservatives will do exactly the same thing, like how Ford scammed us. Interesting take. There is evidence that the Conservative Party is moving a little bit more towards the center, and that both parties are getting closer together, especially as the leader of the Conservatives, Aaron O'Toole, has made changes to his front bench. Like, he's shifted out Pierre Poilievre, who many Conservatives absolutely love for various reasons, because he's so critical of the Prime Minister. Also, Derek Sloan was an MP in the Conservative Party, and he's sort of been removed from his position after some more socially conservative remarks. Some people sort of claim that they're very problematic in terms of racial comments and things like this. And so Aaron O'Toole is sort of changing the Conservative Party a little bit, saying, hey, we do not condone this. We're going to get this guy out of the limelight. Now, there could be problems there with, depending on who that party's donors are, right? It's tough to please your entire base as a political party, but that's something that's definitely interesting. Man, I read one comment and I go on a 5-minute talk. Wow. All right, we've got Sean in here. Man, I've been waiting 8 weeks now for agent to call me back for validation for COV12. That's an air code. Haven't collected CRB since beginning of December. Contact MPs and everything. You know, Sean, I've been hearing more and more about this. I received a DM to my Instagram just last night. I do my best to reply to as many as I can, but I often read them at the very least. If you want to follow me, it's at Ask Russell on Instagram. But I was reading one of my DMs, and this woman was very nicely explaining to me the situation that she and many others are in. It seems that on the CRA, they updated their website and asked many people who had already been receiving the CRB to provide additional documentation to qualify them. Now, that's fine. That's great. You want to make sure everyone's eligible before they're receiving it. That's fine. But the problem is they say it could take up to 30 days to process, but it seems like that delay is actually even longer than 30 days to process some of these documents. And that it seems like they're just completely overrun with work here at the CRA. So that's a big problem for people who this is their means of living, right? This is their livelihood. For many people likely in the chat right now, if you've had your benefits delayed, and if you had to go, like Sean was saying, 8 weeks without any benefits, and you're not able to go back to your line of work, can't find work, that could be potentially devastating. So that's another problem that I'm surprised they didn't address more directly in these press conferences. All right. KHMD Faisal says, can you please summarize all the information? I'll give you the brief talking points before I go out and answer more questions. Number 1, CRB extended 3 months. You're going to have an additional 6 periods that you can apply for. Originally, it was 13 periods. Now that's going to be, why is my math so bad? That's going to be 19 periods that you can apply for in total. Right? So that's an extension for CRB. Same goes for the other Canada Recovery benefits, the CRCB, CRSB, and also employment insurance regular benefits have been almost doubled to 50 weeks, up from 26 weeks. These are the main points. All right. OZ Production says, hey, Russell, thanks for doing this. Do you know if the CRB's $38,000 criteria changes as well, since we are going to get $6,000 more? Interesting. I think it likely will not. That's a good question. Because they said they're going to do these changes via regulation and not via changes to the actual bill. That was something that was in the actual bill. It was that $38,000 income requirement. And if you're not familiar with that, not a requirement, but it was a threshold, right? If you were to make over $38,000 this year, then you would have to pay back 50 cents of every CRB dollar that you got in which you went over your cap. So if you made $39,000, that's $1,000 over the cap, you'd have to pay back $500 of your CRB money. I'm thinking that's going to stay the same because they can't change the bill itself. It seems they're not going to go through any amendments through the House of Commons. They're just going to change this via regulation. Also, if you guys have been enjoying the stream and enjoying the information and enjoy the channel in general, feel free to share this stream with somebody who you think might enjoy it. I feel like a great way to help this Canadian YouTube channel grow. I'm trying to build something here where you can sort of have another place to get your news and someone who's sort of working through things in at least I'm trying to be as unbiased as I possibly can, sort of presenting things from both sides. So if you appreciate that, I'd love your continued support on the channel, and I appreciate you all for being here right now. It means a lot to me. Yeah, thanks for tuning in. All right. Steven says, what are the rules about collecting CRB while working? Can you receive it or not? And if so, what are the rules about this? Okay. Yes, you can collect CRB while working, and you can receive it while working, but you need to be making 50% less than you were last year, or at least in the past 12 months. Now, there's a video on my channel. If you look up 50% income requirement on my channel, you can figure out how to exactly calculate how much you're able to make each 2 weeks and still receive CRB. It's a little bit complex, but I think that video will help you out a lot. If anyone in the chat knows that video, you can link it there for our friend here who's looking for that. All right. Does everyone go to 50 weeks? As I got approved for 45 weeks and my wife is at 28 weeks. That seems like it's a question about EI. Now, I am far more up to date with everything related to the CERB and the CRB than I am with EI. That's something that I don't have as much experience with. But it's my understanding that the amount of EI you are able to receive is largely proportional to the amount of insurable hours you worked beforehand. So depending on how many insurable hours you worked initially, you may qualify for this extension up to 50 weeks, or you may not. We're still waiting to see the fine details on all of this. Samuel says, Russell, you need to start talking about investment day trading. You know, I've seen a lot of YouTube channels here on YouTube, obviously, if it's a YouTube channel, going live and talking a lot about stock markets and investing. And I do invest in the stock market and a little bit in cryptocurrency as well as real estate. These are the areas in which I invest and I have my expertise. Not huge on day trading. I really haven't dove into that, but it'd be something to look into in the future. And I'd definitely be happy to help share my insights on those other things that I'm more up to date with, because I want to make sure I'm giving you guys good information whenever there is information. All right, going through a few more questions here before we switch over to the last question that Carla Qualtrough is going to be asked on this stream. Okay, we've got a real estate question, thinking the housing market will crash because of people being in rent arrears. Not only that, but people are buying housing with loans from the bank. It could happen. I feel like if you ask 10 different people what their takes are on the real estate market, you're going to get 10 different takes. Lots of people have different predictions, and it's really challenging to have a solid prediction on what's going to happen. All right. Okay, let's hop back over here to this stream, and I want to flip forward a little bit to the next time that Carla Qualtrough is asked a question here. I believe it's right here. Yes.
Lots of
Let's listen in on this.
complaints about accessing the sickness benefits. So I'm just wondering, Madam Qualtrough.
Back
Go
this up a
ahead.
little bit.
À vous la parole.
Here you go.
Hi, yes, there have been lots of complaints about accessing the sickness benefits. So I'm just wondering, Madam Qualtrough, if there's anything that your government is considering doing to make sure that this benefit gets into more hands of the Canadians who need it.
Well, thanks for the important question. You know, paid sick leave has been a key component of our public health response from the beginning. It was an eligible under Cerb, and then we highlighted it in our safe recovery agreement with the provinces. And of course, with the recovery sickness benefit, We've been supporting workers who are sick or have to isolate or quarantine because of COVID. We remain absolutely committed to supporting workers. We created the sickness benefit to protect them and to protect their workplaces. We said in August when we created these recovery benefits that we would indeed keep an eye on the labor market. We've heard that a lot of frontline workers, for example, have exhausted the first 2 weeks we offered, so we're adding 2 more weeks. But we also expect provinces to do their part. And provinces still really have a leading role to play in supporting workers.
Most haven't
not
done
to
anything on this
duplicate our
front.
efforts, but to complicate. You know, we've got good examples in BC and Yukon, and I would just urge provinces to kind of step up for workers and do their part like some of their colleagues have. Thank you.
Yeah, that's sort of calling out Doug Ford a little bit, I think. In a lot of press conferences, he said, hey, there's already the federal sickness benefit. We don't need anything more. We're not going to duplicate the program. Here, Carla Qualtrough is saying, hey, we want you to create not a duplicate program, but something to complement the program in order to help people be able to take time off work when they need to without worrying about paying the bills and putting food on the table. So that's interesting to hear. That's more on the CRSB and how they've extended that 2 more weeks. If you don't know about that benefit, it's for people who have been instructed by a health professional that they should stay home. It's in their best interest to stay home, and that's up to 2 weeks that they can do that. All right. Again, thanks for hopping in here. If anyone didn't catch it, the CRB has been extended to 12 weeks extra. I believe, 12 weeks. That's 3 months or 6 application periods. You'll know you can apply every 2 weeks for these benefits, and that's how it's going right now. Now, I want to hop in here and see if anyone has any questions specifically. If you have a question, type perhaps question in all caps and then a colon and then your question, so I can sort through which ones in the chat here are questions for me and which ones are more comments or other things. I'm going to show you guys what's going on here in the chat and what I can see and zoom on in here. Oh, that's a little bit too big. Oh, man. This streaming thing is a different beast, but I'm enjoying doing it. I'm glad you guys are all hanging out here. Okay, we have a question here from Steph Mack. Steph says, hey Russell, are there any benefits for those suffering from COVID-19? My roommate is out of work, but getting short-term disability at 70% salary, no CRB. Any programs to top him up? I don't believe that there are if they're currently on short-term disability at 70% salary. I would have to double check on that to be certain. I recommend you check out the CRA's website to see if the CRCB or CRSB, the Canada Recovery Sickness Benefit, could be for you. I recommend to read up on that. But I think if you're on short-term disability already receiving 70% of your salary, you likely wouldn't be able to apply for the CRSB because you need to not be working at least half of your work week, if I remember that correctly. All right, scrolling down. Okay, we've got, thanks a lot for your info, Russell. The greatest people make the greatest Canada. We'll go through this pandemic together. But first thing, we have to stop spreading virus. This is all that matters. Good point there. Thanks for tuning in and commenting. We've got a question. If the house and stock market crashes in summer and jobless, will they extend the CRB? Well, based on this announcement here, they said, this is what Carla Qualtrough said. She said very specifically, we have kept looking at the numbers. We've looked at the unemployment numbers. We've looked at the jobs market. And that's what led them to make this decision, right? They took a look at the data and said, hey, there are many Canadians who aren't able to get back to work. So we're going to extend the benefits. Now, that means now there's precedent for them doing it again. If we're still in the same situation and we haven't recovered and our economy hasn't fully opened up by the summer, we could very well see another extension. Some people have criticized this announcement, saying they haven't made it long enough to make it safe. But I think that they're likely thinking in 3-month increments, right, and thinking in quarters. So that's what my take is on that. All right, we've got more questions here. All right. Raza says, hey, Russell, I'm using U-File for taxes. How do we fill in CRB and CESB? I'm going to be making videos on that very soon for how you can file your taxes and make sure that you're including everything related to the benefits in the proper way. That's going to be coming in the next couple of weeks here. But you got to make sure that you use your T4A and T4E slips to make sure that you're accounting for all that extra income when you do those calculations. All right. Raza says, but do we have to include them in our income as others, don't we? Yes, we have to. All right. Awesome. Well, I'm so glad that everyone has tuned in for this. Let me see here. Going to pull up this stream, and I think we may go over what was initially said here on these benefits and these updates. And if you haven't already done so, let me know where you're from. I like getting a better idea of where everyone's tuning in from, who's watching, and what's going on. I appreciate it. And if you haven't already done so, hit the like button and feel free to share this stream with your friends. It's going to be available to watch after the stream concludes as well. But I just thought I'd bring this information to you and update you as quickly as I possibly could through this live video so you could know what's going on. Again, if you've tuned in late, the main news is that the CRB is going to be extended 3 months. 3 months extra on this benefit that is providing a lot for a lot of people in a tricky situation. So that's the main news. Also, EI has been almost doubled in the possible amount of general EI benefits you can claim, the amount of weeks you can be receiving that benefit for. Okay. All right. We've got Mars from Vaughan. We've got Stefan from Winnipeg, Minnie from Toronto, Nimra from Toronto. Shout out from the 6. Yeah, lots of people from Ontario in here. All right. Yes, Bobby, the CRB is going to end in June. Right. ODSP rates that need to be increased is a different government issue. Disabled and not getting more money is another government issue. This whole Cerb CRB is for people who work and qualified. Yeah, that's right. I've seen a lot of people sort of questioning why there's been so much focus on the CRB, the CRCB, the CRSB, and meanwhile ODSP and some other programs. That's a provincial benefit here in Ontario. Why they have been not updated to the same extent as these other benefits. Yeah, they're very separate issues, and they would need to be tackled in very separate ways. If it's a provincial support benefit, it would have to be tackled by the provincial government, and likely legislation would have to change in order to make these major changes to Canada's safety net, right? That's what the Liberals are trying to do here, is try to create a stronger safety net so more people don't fall through the cracks. Whether or not they're going about it in the right way is up for debate. Again, I try to keep things as much in the middle here as I possibly can, not tilted conservative, not tilted liberal, but trying to keep everything unbiased so that you can get your information and make your mind up yourself about all of this. Changes like those would take a lot longer, much like perhaps this new EI change could take. Remember, they're going to have to actually pass legislation to make this happen. So who knows, right? It could even trigger an election, having changes to these major government programs. All right, we've seen Mountain Flowers from Edmonton, Crypto Salamander, I like the names, from Nova Scotia. We've got Rhonda, yes, you've extended the taxes. The Swaggy King Baby, I think I'm down. Tracy Weir says is from Belleville, Ontario. I was just in the Belleville area a little while ago. Scarborough, Winnipeg, Kitchener. I love it. I love seeing all these people from Canada in here. Okay. I have a question for you guys. Everyone here who's watching. I love your opinion on it. So I love making these streams. I love making these videos. And a lot of it has been about these benefits as they've changed and as they've evolved. Now, certainly I'm going to continue keeping you updated on all of these things, but I'm wondering, what else are you interested in seeing? It's really valuable to me to be able to know what you're interested in, because I love making these live streams, but I only want to do them when there's something particularly interesting for me to cover. So let me know in the comments, what do you want to see videos on? What do you want to see streams on? Because I'm going to keep on the same content that I've been doing, but I'd also like to make other stuff for you. So let me know. All right. Tito's from Gatineau, Quebec, Canada. Here, watch you every day. Thanks for tuning in. I love that you've been watching, and hopefully it's been helping. All right. Bobby says, keep going, please. Yeah, I'll do my best to keep this up. I have a lot of fun doing this. I get to hang out at home and make my own videos, and I have a lot of fun doing that. It is a lot of fun. I mean, watching through House of Commons videos and going and hearing some of the redundant things that they're saying, and in some cases they reiterate themselves over and over again. That's not the most fun, but I try to skim through that and get through it as quickly as I can to sort of grab the information that's important to people. But I really like doing it. All right. We've got comments here. Bobby wants some more information on stocks. That's something we could cover. I was thinking of making a video on the new Bitcoin ETF. That's an exchange traded fund. It's a way that you can invest in cryptocurrencies without actually owning the cryptocurrency and just buying a stock essentially in a cryptocurrency. So people who don't have the capacity to set up a crypto account, or maybe they don't want to, they could potentially buy a stock that would sort of track where Bitcoin is going. That's what the Bitcoin ETF is. I was thinking of doing a deep dive on that because Canada is the first North American country to create something like that. So I thought it was a little bit significant for Canadians. Again, if you haven't started investing, I really recommend you do. There's a link in the description for Wealth Simple. That's an app I use for investing in stocks. They have no fees if you're investing in Canadian stocks and ETFs. Even if you just put in a little bit of money and start learning about the stock market, I think that's really important for people's wealth moving forward into the future. I've talked about it in videos on the channel, but we're seeing like such a stretching of the gap of wealth between people who are wealthy and people who are not. And there's not really much of a middle ground anymore. And that gap is being spread largely due to a lot of policies that are currently happening, especially monetary policy here in Canada. So if the government doesn't change the way things are structured, it's going to be more and more important for us to take our finances into our own hands and learn a little bit about investing. So if you haven't already done so, I'd recommend at least starting to think about that so you can sort of try to look out for you and your family moving forward, right? Learning about that financial knowledge, I think, is very important. All right, we have more comments here. Thanks for tuning in, everybody. Hey, Frank, how's it going? Sorry I missed the announcement. I'm currently on EI until May 1st. What does this mean for me? Great work, Russell. More Canadians should tune into you. Thanks so much for tuning in, Frank, and thanks for being a supporter of the channel. I love seeing that badge next to your name. Very cool. So for you individually, it depends on how many insurable hours you've worked, to the best of my knowledge. Now, this extension has extended EI regular benefits from 26 weeks, an additional 24 weeks, leading to a total of 50 weeks of eligibility for this, so long as you meet the requirements to receive that amount, right? They haven't released any press conferences, or rather press statements, that would help us to determine exactly the fine details on how this is going to work. But once that is out, I'm going to make a video of it right here on the channel. Maybe I'll do another live stream like this, going through all the details so that you can be confident that we haven't just misheard somebody in the press conferences, right? Like in the past, you remember that issue where Bill Morneau, the previous finance minister in Canada, sort of made that mistake in his speaking and said, hey, we're going to say revenue, not net revenue, gross revenue. That was a big part of the problem because the government was essentially telling people the wrong information for benefits. So I always like to wait for the press release to come out so I can take a better look at exactly the wording they're using and actually have evidence in writing that these things are as they seem. Okay, taking a look here. Yeah, thanks for the question, Frank. Hope that helps. All right. Nancy says, yes, please, more info on the crypto ETFs. Okay, awesome. I'll make a video about that. Yeah, Cody wants to see it too. All right. Skull says, late signing on. Wasn't the BRB already until September? Has that also been extended 3 months? So this extension wasn't for the total period of the CRB, which was September 2020 to September 2021. That's how long the CRB lasts, but you can only apply 13 times each 2-week period, right? 13 2-week periods. Now they've raised that to 19 2-week periods in which you can apply. That's what the extension is here. All right. Jung Nu says, thanks, Russell, for updating. And Rock Truck Rob says, love this channel. Thanks so much for hanging out. I'm so glad that you guys are enjoying this. I love hanging out here with you. You know, there's so much American content on the internet. And I just thought, okay, let's try to make a channel that's more focused on Canadians. And because there's a lot of differences. I talk a lot about personal finance and investing and things like this. And there's changes and there's differences between the States and between Canada. So I'm glad to bring that sort of information from a Canadian perspective. And I'm glad you guys are enjoying that. All right. Michael says, how is the CRA going to process the Cerb stuff this year on tax returns? So there was more big news last week on this in that the CERB, first of all, the repayment for that, if you were someone who was suffering from the net gross income issue, where people applied based on their gross income instead of their net income, you're not going to have to pay back the $14,000. The other thing they announced was that if you applied for any benefits at all during the course of the pandemic, be it Cerb, CRB, CRSB, CRCB, EI, if you applied even just for 1 week or one period, which is 2 weeks, then you will be able to not pay interest on the taxes owed that you would typically have to pay. You're still going to have to file your taxes this year with all of this additional information, but if you don't have the money to pay your tax bill this year, the government announced last week that they were going to give you a 1 year free, no interest period on this tax payment. So you're still going to have to pay it after 2 years, right? After this tax year, and on next tax year, you're going to have a double bill, but at least you'll have the time to plan to make sure you have that amount of money. All right. Question. James says, hello, Russell. You mentioned you invest a little in cryptocurrencies. Do you know any or recommend a secure Canadian app or BTC exchange to use? There's so many out there. I don't know which one to use. Now, of course, I'll have to emphasize, I'm not an expert on this. I can only speak to my personal experience, and I recommend that you make any financial decisions by yourself. Just the legal disclosure you have to give here on YouTube sometimes. But I've been a very big fan of using MetaMask as a provider for this. And also I've linked in the description, there should be down there, I think there's a buy cryptocurrencies. That's the provider that I use to actually buy the cryptocurrency, which I then transfer to MetaMask, which is sort of like the wallet for your different cryptocurrencies. We're going to make more videos on that in the future because it's something I'm getting more interested in, and I'm starting to believe more and more in going forward. So I can definitely help you out more with that in the future. All right. Cody, you're asking, Russell, what do you think about Canada opening up its Northern Passage? To be honest, I really do not know enough about it to make a thorough response. I'm going to pull up my notes here and say Northern Passage so that Cody, I'm going to read up on that so I can have an educated response to you. I don't want to say anything before I really know what the situation's looking like. Okay. So Roxanne says, yes, sir, Canadian Real News with Russell. Oh, thanks so much. I'm glad you guys like this. I'm going to keep doing it for as long as you enjoy it. Okay. Rhonda says, why are people who are lucky enough to still have their jobs and no loss in hours asking if they qualify for the benefits? As far as I know, the benefits offered are for those who lost hours or jobs. Yes, correct. If you didn't lose any hours, or rather didn't lose any pay, they're not actually calculating it by hours. They're calculating it by amount you're making. You have to have a 50% reduction. If you haven't seen that, then you're likely not eligible for the benefits. Now, that's not the case for certain provincial benefits. Just this week, we saw the Alberta government announce a $1,200 critical worker benefit that went out to many frontline workers who hadn't been receiving any sort of benefits. And as a result of that, many people who were still working were able to get a sort of top up or a bonus, sort of saying, hey, we've had a job this whole time. We've been working this whole time. We haven't been able to receive any benefits. Where's our fair share? Or at least that's the sentiment of some people. And it seems Jason Kenney was able to bring them something. It's something that's a little bit controversial, right? Should money be spent on people who are lucky enough to still have jobs? But then on the other side, some people are working full-time hours and making just around the same amount as people who are on benefits. So I can see both sides of the whole issue. A good question there. All right. Caesar says, what about the poorest Canadians, Russell? I'm talking about the people who make under 5,000 gross income to zero income in 2019. Can they apply for CRB? Unfortunately, making under 5,000 gross income would disqualify you from these benefits. Now, I'm not the biggest expert on what benefits are available for people who didn't make that and what sort of services are available to you to help you, because that is certainly challenging to live on that level of income. But I definitely recommend looking into what provincial supports there are for you if you're in one of those tricky situations. All right. So Ward says, will the false CERB repayments be reimbursed? Ward, I think you're referring to the fact that many people who received these education letters from the CRA stating they had to pay back $14,000 of CERB, and now the government going back on that saying you don't actually have to pay it back. Well, some people had already started paying it back, right? It is a big mess. They said that the CRA is going to pay people back the money that they paid to the CRA after receiving these repayment letters or these education letters. Now, how they're going to do that, the processing time for it, how it's going to actually all pan out, that's a different story. The CRA has been rather slow in the past, especially when dealing with case-by-case basis sorts of things. And that's something that this is, right? It's a case-by-case basis. They're going to have to determine your eligibility, whether or not it actually was net or gross, where you got the information from. So it could be kind of tricky to get your money back from the CRA. But again, we're expecting more information on that in the coming weeks. So stay tuned to the channel. If you haven't already done so, subscribe, notification bell, all that good stuff. I'll try to keep you updated on all this sort of stuff. Okay. Taking a look at this. John says, you're a calm voice in turbulent times. Thank you. I hope to bring things to you pretty clearly and help you out in understanding this, because it's a lot to sort through, especially when there's so much going on in the world these days. Oh my goodness. All right. And Frank says, thank you, sir. My brother will be joining your channel. Thank you for answering my questions. His name is Kevin Milan. Oh, that's awesome. Yeah. Thanks for hanging out, Frank. And thanks for being a supporter. I appreciate it. Absolutely. Thank you. All right. And we've also got Foxy in here saying, if you lost your job while self-isolating because of being sick, you are not eligible for CRB. That might, if you lost your job while self-isolating, that's kind of tricky, because if you're self-isolating, perhaps you could be on the CRSB, the Canada Recovery Sickness Benefit. But if you lost your job, then likely the CRB could be something for you to go to afterwards if you're not eligible for EI. All right. Matthew McConaughey style. Oh yeah, I'm seeing more comments about the cryptocurrency. I've used BitBuy in the past. Again, there's a link down there where you can purchase various cryptocurrencies if that's something you're interested in. But there's lots of different providers out there. That's just what I've used, so that's why I included it in the description, and I linked that to MetaMask. But I definitely recommend doing your due diligence so that you feel like you're comfortable in doing that. Definitely look into it for yourself. Okay. Tammy Shiga says, do they include the CRB benefits as your total income for mortgage qualifying? That's interesting. That's an interesting question. I think they might, because oftentimes you provide either pay stubs or tax returns to a mortgage lender to get them to qualify you for a mortgage. So if this is shown as income, perhaps it could, but it wouldn't really make sense to have that included, because the whole point of qualifying for a mortgage is for the underwriter, the person who's taking a look at your loan, to make sure it's likely for you to be able to keep paying. They're likely going to want to see what your consistent income is over time. Now, because this is something that's going to end, they might not use it. But it's going to be interesting to see that moving forward. I haven't heard for sure. Dixie says, what's going on? CRB will be extended. That's a great point. For those of you just tuning in, you've seen the headline here, breaking benefit extension announcement, CRB, EI, CRCB, live analysis. We went over some videos here earlier of the announcements from the federal government that the benefits will be extended. Almost every single benefit that's been brought by the federal government during this pandemic. CRB extended 3 months. You're going to have a maximum of 19 application periods going forward. That should take you, if you were applying from all the way from the beginning of October, when this CRB first came in, it's going to take you now all the way till the end of June instead of just till the end of March. So they've extended another quarter of the year. Now, what they're going to do by the time June comes, we'll have to wait and see. But that's the main news for you, Dixie. Is that the real Dixie D'Amelio? Oh, man. Nikhil says, hey, Russell, I hope you're keeping well. I haven't been able to catch your videos, but it's good to see you. Hey, Nikhil, thanks for hopping in here. It's great to be able to meet some of you directly just like this. I get to talk with you. I know a lot of you have been watching the videos, and I appreciate it. I've had a lot of fun making them, and I plan on continuing to in the future. But it's nice to be able to hang out with you and actually get to talk with you one-on-one and see you all here. It's really cool. All right. What does a mother do after maternity leave? My EI is over after the year and my job is gone now. I have no more hours now to apply for EI. Is there anything I can get now from the government? If your EI has ended, you could potentially be eligible for CRB if you meet all of those eligibility requirements. Having had EI doesn't disqualify you from CRB, but you do have to meet the total income threshold and be making less than you did by a factor of 50%. In order to be eligible. So I'd look into that more to find out how that's going to happen. Oh yes, Damon, the news for EI, they've extended this. If you are eligible for EI and are eligible for, or would potentially be eligible for more weeks, they've extended EI general benefits from 26 weeks to 50 weeks total, added 24 weeks. So that's a significant extension. But that being said, this is something that they're going to have to extend via legislation. Now, the other changes we've seen, they're going to be able to change via regulation, or that's Carla Qualtrough's the way that she put it. So it seems that you're going to have to wait. In order to be sure that this change is going to happen for EI, you're going to have to wait until this is passed through the House of Commons and then passed through the Senate. And for that to all go smoothly, we need to wait on the different political parties to get their different takes, debate these changes, and then vote on it, hopefully pass it if you're somebody who's looking for this to happen, and then have that pass through Senate. They vote it through, and then it becomes a bill, and you can actually expect that change has actually happened. Yeah, there you go, Damon. There's your information. Okay. Anita says, great job as always, Russell. Thanks for all your information. Thanks for all you do to keep us informed. Oh, thank you for the kind words, Anita. It's cool seeing you guys in here. All right. Maria says, I just lost my job and I'm going to maternity leave anytime soon. I have the hours, but I'm worried the CRB payment is bigger than my EI payments. Okay. Well, if you, I think, I'm a little bit curious about what your question is. I just lost my job and I'm going to maternity leave anytime soon. I have the hours, but I'm worried that CRB payment is bigger than my EI payments. If your EI is ending, you can look into CRB, but you have to go to EI first before. You can't really choose between the two. You have to make sure you go through all of your EI options before you can change into any other benefits. Popular Demand says, now that the benefits are extended, do you think we're looking into UBI? Now, I don't know. It's hard to tell for sure. There's lots of people who love the idea of UBI. There's lots of people who really believe that it won't work. I won't speak to that right now specifically. I'm gonna mute that call. But yeah, when it comes to UBI, it seems that the Liberal government at least has intended that they don't intend, or they've made it clear that they don't intend for these benefits to become permanent. They've used language like these need to be time sensitive or rather time limited benefits, right? So it seems that they're not really pushing in that UBI route. But as for the other political parties, it'll be interesting to see if we head into an election soon, what their platforms will be about all of this. And that's something I'm hoping to cover here. If there's an election, I'm hoping to transition my content while also covering these benefits, also into helping you sort of work through what everyone's saying, because it gets so complex and there's so many mixed signals from everywhere. I'm hoping to sort of like to condense this and bring you information if there is an election. So let me know if that's something you'd be interested in seeing. I think it'd be helpful to keep people up to date. All right. We've got people from Guelph. That's awesome. Teaspoon says, hey, Russell, thanks for all that you share with us. My EI ends in October. Will that be extended? You'll have to look into your individual EI account. I can't speak to any of your individual accounts and what's going to happen. Log into your Service Canada, see how many weeks you're eligible for. But again, they're going to have to pass this through the House of Commons in order to make any sort of changes. All right. Thanks for hanging out, everybody. You know what I wanted to do? Because this is what we're covering, I'm going to hop on to the various news articles that are being written as we speak about these changes. Sometimes reporters are able to get a little bit more details because they've been talking more closely to some of these politicians. So let's go through this article. I'll pull this up here. Now, I try to use different news sources. Some people hate the CBC, some people love it, but that's where we're going to start. You can see the trending articles. Federal government extending Canadians' access to pandemic benefits. Canada Recovery Benefit and Employment Insurance among benefits getting extension. Yeah, he had this is not even from today. He did a web press conference. So let's see if they have any more new information. Let's try to scan through this. I'm going to zoom it up so you can see it a little bit more clearly. Oh man, now this looks like one of my videos from my channel, right? Me up in the corner with text. All right. Yeah, some workers are going to exhaust their benefits in March. This is coming from Carla Qualtrough. This is the video that we already watched. The crisis isn't over, and neither is our support for everyone. Let me pull up. This is the software that I use to sort of annotate and draw on the screen. Yeah, check it out. All right. So the crisis isn't over, and neither is our support for everyone, Trudeau said. So this is the language that they kept on using. It could indicate which way he's planning on making policy changes in the future. The news came after federal public health officials presented new modeling which showed that variants of the coronavirus could spread quickly. I wonder what role that has to play in all of this, whether they said, or perhaps there will... Yeah, I don't know. This is just tinfoil hat, but if they were going to make any sort of federal lockdown guidelines, they would certainly need to beef up the benefits. So I wonder if that played a role. All right. The government will also seek to increase the maximum period recipients can receive EI regular benefits to 50 weeks. Oh, wow. That is a big mark. Let's make that smaller. To 50 weeks. Yeah, that's better. An extension of 24 weeks. That's going to have to go through legislation. That's what we've talked about. Approval in Parliament. That's what they're going to be waiting on for EI. So now they're talking more about how this replaced Cerb originally. That stuff we know. Recipients must apply every 2 weeks to continue receiving the benefit. Yep, that's what we know. CRCB. Okay, this is mostly stuff we've gone over. I'm trying to find if there's any more fine details that we haven't really touched on and talked about here. All right, criticism and support. Okay, here's some interesting. This is new. Raquel Doncho, the conservative critic for future workforce development and disability inclusion, and Luke Berthold, the conservative critic for the Treasury Board, said they don't oppose the measure, but they do find fault with the government's economic record. Okay, so they don't oppose these measures. The conservatives seem to be in support of this, if this is what they're referring to. I wonder if that's EI as well and could indicate their support about trying to get that to pass as well. Conservatives support getting help to those who have been hit hard by Justin Trudeau's failure to create jobs. Fighting words. The statement reads, Canada lost 213 jobs in January. That's 213,000 more families wondering how they will make ends meet or when they can get back to work. And actually, it's more than that. It's more than 213,000. There have been some provinces that have seen increases in employment and some that have seen decreases. As a result, the evening out makes this number look smaller, but there are about 250,000 families in just Ontario and Quebec that have lost jobs because they've been hit more directly by the second wave, or more recently by the second wave. The Liberals need to present a budget their first in 2 years that will get Canadians back to work and bring our economy back to life. Yeah, I'll show you that. That is a significant statement. And that's something that we're going to have to look forward to in the future. Again, the Liberals haven't brought a budget on exactly how they're going to spend money, where they're going to spend it going forward, how they're going to pay for all the spending. And this is going to be significant for future benefits and future policies and future directions for Canada as a country to go. And that's why the Conservatives are saying, hey, we need a budget. They put forward a fiscal update a few months ago, but there wasn't as much information as there would be in a traditional budget. So once we find that out, we might have more information on what the future could look like for future benefits, changes to policies in Canada that will affect everybody. The CLC, that's new. The Canadian Labour Congress, a national labor organization, welcomed the proposed changes. Okay, so they're saying that this is good news. This will come as very good news for the millions of Canadians who still don't have a job they can go back to and who were growing concerned about how they would pay their bills once the benefits ended next month. It's so surprising that we're seeing all of this talk about this now. Well, I've been covering this on YouTube for months now, and nobody was talking about it. So I guess it was all behind closed doors. But yeah, I'm surprised to see this announcement here. I thought there would have to be a little bit more pressure in the House of Commons for them to come out with an announcement like this, but maybe they're sort of setting things up for a future announcement, right? Like the signaling from the government today, they had 2 live streams. First one saying, hey, if these new variants come into play, it's going to be a big problem if we don't shut down again. And then second press conference is, here's an extension for benefits. Now, make of that what you will, but some may argue that that makes it more likely for them to have the ability to impose some sort of federal guidelines to sort of prevent this third wave from occurring. Okay, so that's all for that news article. That's some interesting takes. It sort of gets a little bit of new information out there. Let's see if there's any questions in the chat here for a minute. Again, thanks so much for tuning in, everybody. If you haven't already done so, hit the like button on this video. It helps spread the stream to more people. Get that like button, turn it blue if you haven't already done so, and subscribe to the channel. I want to keep on bringing Canadian content like this, and the number one way to support, other than by becoming an official supporter, the number one way to support is by sharing these sort of videos and streams with your friends, and that'll really encourage more Canadians like myself to create content like this, because clearly people want to see it. All right, let's take a look here at the chat. Thanks for tuning in, you guys. All right. Astra says, thank you for helping people, and I'm in EI now. When it finished payment, can I apply CRB? Yes. If your EI runs out, you can apply for CRB, and Susie helped you out with that too. Chris C has a question saying, I have a question. If you found out after you didn't qualify for CERB, do you get 1 year to pay it back and the taxes owed on it? Please answer. I've been hold for 5 hours so far. Now, that's an interesting question. I can't tell you for certain. If you found out after you didn't qualify for CERB, unless it was for the net gross, you're likely going to have to pay this back. The Liberals' messaging has been, if you applied in good faith, but then later found out that you were ineligible for a benefit, there won't be any penalty or penalties, right? There won't be any penalization is what I was trying to say. So likely you would have to call the CRA, maybe not right now when they're experiencing such long wait times, but in the future, they'd likely be able to set up repayment plans for you in which you likely wouldn't have to pay a whole lot of interest because, again, they're saying they're not going to penalize you, which likely means no interest on this until you're able to pay it back if you found out that you weren't eligible all along. Kevin, thanks for tuning in, saying I'm out. Good luck, everyone, and thanks for the update. Yeah, thanks for tuning in, Kevin. Nice seeing you in here. All right. So since they decided to withhold money for taxes, CRB tax-free, that's a common misconception, Vipisis. Sorry if I pronounced your name wrong. CRB is also taxable, and people will have to pay tax on it. They said they held back taxes, which they did. They held back $100 of your $1,000 payment for that period, right? So that's why you're only getting $900 for CRB as opposed to CERB, which was $1,000 for each 2 weeks, right? So what happens is if you, depending on your income, the 10% that they withheld may not be enough to cover the income tax you would owe on the $1,000 of income that these benefits are. So depending on your tax bracket, it's going to be different for everybody. As we get closer to the filing date for taxes this year, which everyone's going to still have to file on time, even with the news of the no interest for a year, there'll still be penalties if you don't apply or don't file your taxes on time. But in the coming month, I'm going to be making some videos to help you sort of through that process and how you could do that yourself in a lot of cases. All right. So Chris, I answered your question. All right. Is the extension of EI possible on active claims or only for new claims? I believe also active claims for EI regular benefits. You're going to have to check out for your individual circumstance, and it also has to be passed through the House of Commons, through Parliament, in order to actually be changed. All right. How about the students who rolled out in 2020 and not landed in jobs? Nothing is being taken care of us. That is one of the categories of people that are really falling through the cracks in my eyes. If you didn't have your $5,000 income, then you're not eligible for these benefits. But if you're going to school, perhaps you weren't working, right? You were going to school. And now not every student is able to move back in with mom and dad, right? There's complex family dynamics. There's issues where people aren't able to do that. So I think it's really a group of people that are being left in the lurch, especially given the unemployment data that we've seen shows that age group, I don't know the exact age group, but is around that 20 years old, 25 years old. In that age group is where we're seeing the highest unemployment, as well as in teens. So the fact that there's not more support for this group of people, given the fact that they're leaving school and entering one of the worst job markets that we've seen in decades, I think that there's really a lack of support there, which is disappointing. Arjun says, do you know Brian M? He does real estate. No, I don't, but maybe I'll look him up. Does he have a YouTube channel? That'd be cool to hang out. All right. Moxie says, great Canadian content for sure. Gonna share your channel on Facebook. Oh, thank you, Moxie. I appreciate it. Yeah, I love making these Canadian focused videos. I feel like there's not enough of it on the internet. So that's my goal, bringing you guys information that's important to you as a Canadian. And my area of expertise is in the financial side of things. I'm a realtor, and the GTA is my full-time job. When I'm not making a YouTube video, I'm working on a deal for real estate. So that's where my financial background comes in investing in real estate and investing in stocks. That's something I've been doing since I was young as well. So I love talking about those kinds of topics, as well as personal finance and how you can help your family grow their wealth, because ultimately that's the function of money, right? I really believe that it's important to learn about financial independence and financial intelligence so that you can spend more time with your family. You can worry about your physical health. People say money isn't everything, and it's absolutely not. I don't believe that money is the most important thing, but I believe that what money gives you access to in terms of being able to enjoy the most important things, that's truly significant. If I have more time freedom because I don't have to take a bad job because I've developed a financial base for myself, that means I can spend more time with my family. When I have kids, I can spend more time with my kids, and that's I think what is most important. And money does play a role in that, and people need to recognize it. All right. How many CRB periods can we apply for? Thanks. Yasmin, good question. Before, you could only apply for 13 CRB periods. As of this announcement, they're claiming that that's going to be upped to 19. They've extended it 3 months, which is an additional 6 periods because there's 2 periods each month. So there's your answer on that one. Okay. Susie's saying, hopefully Toronto will be able to open soon. Yeah, they just announced today, I believe Doug Ford did, that Toronto was going to stay pretty well locked down for the foreseeable future. All right, let's see if any other news websites have any articles on these changes to the benefits. See if there's any more information that's coming out about this. And also, if you're somebody who is well connected in the news and you see an article that you want me to take a look at, there's actually a channel inside the Discord app. In the description of this video, there's a Discord community. This is sort of a secondary community where we can get together and chat over text, and there's more people joining it every day. There's actually a category in there. If you join that community, totally free, join the community, and you can submit into the news submissions tab. And I've actually been finding a lot of my news that I've been covering on the channel from people who have posted in there. So if you have a news article you'd like me to take a look at, that's a great way to get it to me. All right. I'm seeing no other articles here on this new information. Again, if you're someone just joining the stream, what has happened is that the CRB has been extended 3 months, additional periods, 6 more periods for you to apply. So instead of it ending at the end of March, if you were applying since the beginning, it's going to end at the end of June. What's going to happen then? We don't know. We're going to cover it when that happens too. Hopefully it's not necessary anymore, and Canada's looking a little bit more solid by the end of that. Okay. All right. Well, I think that's just about it, you guys. I'm going to take one more second here. Does anyone have any last minute questions for this stream? I think we're going to start winding it down. If anyone else has any other questions or any other comments or any other things that you think we should be covering here on the channel and should be talking about, let me know. I'm going to pause here for a second. All right. I believe they extended the CRB for 38 weeks for like another 3 months. Yeah, that's right. This has been extended for another 3 months. I'm going to throw chat up here just as we answer questions at the end of this stream. Last chance for questions before I end up closing down the stream. We've covered all these changes for the CRB EI. This stream will be available to watch afterwards. So if you want to go back and comb through it to get to all the details, you can do that, as well as the new video I just released on the channel going through some of the more important details of all of this. Smitty says, I am currently on EI, so I am to understand that it will be extended 24 weeks. Hopefully, for many people in the EI case. Unlike CRB, they're not able to just make this change. They have to pass this through the House of Commons. That means they have to get support from other political parties, has to make its way through Senate, or not, oh my goodness. It has to make it through all the levels of Canadian government and reach royal assent, which is what I was trying to say. And that at that point, then we can be certain that these changes are going to happen for EI and for this program. So we don't know for sure yet. Cody says, I think you should be talking about the Let's Talk Budget website more often. Yeah, if you don't already know, good point, Cody. Right now, the Canadian government is asking Canadians and asking other stakeholders, businesses, advocacy groups to comment on what they should be spending their money on for the foreseeable future. This could affect the next decade of Canadian politics based on the insights they gather from this. There's a website called letstalkbudget2021.ca. You can go there and you can leave your insights so that they can sort of incorporate that into their decision making as they come up with this new budget. Yeah. All right. Pat says, thank you for the good channel. Thanks. Coley says, is Wealth Simple is a good app? It's one of my favorites. It's not so good for trading American stocks because you pay a commission every time you do, which I'm guilty of a couple times. I've bought some American stocks. I know it's not the most efficient to pay the commission, but Wealth Simple is such a clearly well-built app in that it's very user-friendly, very easy to use. If you want to get into investing, I recommend it. There's a link down there in the description. You can get 10 extra bucks when you put in 100, I believe, with that referral link. So, and if you do, I get 10 bucks too. But even if that wasn't a thing, I would recommend Wealth Simple because it's something I use on the daily. Yeshua says, hello, sir. Can I apply for CRB even though I've never worked? I only receive child tax benefits. Unfortunately, Yeshua, in order to be eligible for the recovery benefits, you need to have made $5,000 income on your 2019 taxes or in 2020 or over the past 12 months. Unfortunately, if you don't have over that $5,000 limit, you won't be able to apply. All right. Smith says, yeah, we don't have a Senate, thank God. Oh, yeah. I would have starved to death if not for this help. If you're working part-time, how much can you make per month and still collect CRB? That's calculated on a person-by-person basis, Moxie. What's going to happen there, you can make money, but it has to be less than 50% of what you earned in 2019 or in 2020. It's a little bit complex on how they calculate this. Check out the video on my channel. Do a search for, I think if you type in the search box of YouTube, Russell Matthews 50% CRB, and there should be a thumbnail there with me cutting some money. It looks like I'm cutting money, but it's sort of to indicate, hey, this is how you calculate your 50%. So check out that video to get more details on that. Anthony Gramsch, also good content idea is first-time homebuyers CMHC content, investment properties. Hey, yeah, good idea, Anthony. Yeah, I think that there might be a shortage of detailed explanations for how these programs work. I know you and I talked about this a little bit in the past. It could be helpful for people to have this information out there, and especially if people have gotten used to this format of the way I go through information. I'd love to bring that. Great idea, Anthony. Can I apply for CRB via phone like I did Cerb? I got locked out of my account for forgetting my password. Yes, you can. But for some people, if you've been on your CRA account recently, then the problem could be that for many people, they shut down the phone applications if you were recently on your CRA account. So they're saying, hey, you have access online, just apply online. We're not going to take your phone call anymore. But for people who haven't had their MyCRA account or haven't been on it for a while, you could still be able to apply on the phone. So you'll have to check out and try for your individual situation. But I'd recommend not calling an agent. That's not the way to apply. Call their automated toll line or toll-free line so that you don't have to. You can just click through a menu instead of waiting for hours. All right. Minnie says, thank you. Thanks for tuning in, Minnie. Am I eligible for CRCB? Taking care of elderly parent full-time. Have note from her doctor. I made $11,000 on income in 2019. Based on what you've told me, nothing there negates you from applying. There are, of course, additional qualifications that you need to check out on the CRCB website. But if you're taking care of an elderly parent full-time, you have a note from her doctor, and also her typical care situation is unable to be accessed due to some sort of lockdown or changes, then you would likely be eligible. But you'll have to take a closer look on the website for yourself. All right. Anyone waiting for the CRA to look at their income proof since way too long? I've been waiting for more than 6 weeks now. That's a common situation. A lot of people have been sort of trapped in this cycle of trying to get them to approve their CRB. Even though they were receiving it before, they were randomly asked to provide documentation. So lots of people are stuck in that situation, and it's a tricky situation. All right. Teaspoon says, Russell, will you help us with our taxes? Will you post a video in regards to this? I normally have someone else do them, but to save money, I'm sure a lot of us would like to file them ourselves. Yeah, I actually have that video planned to help you guys sort of sift through that. And also a company that will allow you to file your taxes for free if you have very simple taxes, which many people will. They've reached out to me hoping to sponsor one of those videos. So I think I might go forward with that because as far as I've seen, it seems like it could be a pretty solid partnership and a company that you could potentially use to file your taxes for free. But I'm going to make a video on that soon, so I'll let you know about that, Teaspoon, as soon as I know. But I'm going to be making a video about that, certainly in the next few weeks. All right. Mr. Nintendo Joe says, do you see a housing market bubble happening soon? And what do you think the US dollar will be the main currency in 10 years? A housing market bubble happening soon. It's interesting what really is a bubble, right? Certainly there have been policies put into place by the Canadian government and as well as other governments across the world that have been really boosting up real estate prices. The Bank of Canada has their quantitative easing program. What that is, essentially, the Bank of Canada will buy more and more of the Canadian bond market, essentially giving money to the Canadian government to use at lower interest rates and sort of manipulating that program, essentially creating money, putting money into the system. Now they use inflation as their target for making sure that they're not having any adverse effects from using this program. But what they don't include in the consumer price index is real estate and assets, right? So even though they say inflation is staying at 2%, there could be inflation going up in assets, stocks and real estate. We've seen this huge boom in stocks and real estate since the beginning of the pandemic, which was rather unexpected, but it's because of these aggressive policies that have been put in that I believe that's happening and stretching out the wealth gap. Your second question there was, do you think the US dollar will be the main currency in 10 years? It's interesting to think about that, right? US dollar is certainly what everything else is tied to in terms of other global currencies. It'll be interesting to see how blockchain technology and cryptocurrencies factor into that. I was thinking about making a video on how the Bank of Canada is actually looking into creating its own digital currency that could be the main currency for Canada in the future. They've been looking into that for a while, but there's been even more research lately. So I look forward to a video on that. I find that interesting. I have to do more research though. Anthony says, housing, I believe, will plateau because there is now an uptick with supply, so the market should start to level. Not to mention people also wait till spring to list. Yeah, good point, Anthony. Good point. The real estate prices is really on the most basic levels, just supply and demand, right? If we see this uptick in supply that Anthony's mentioning and not as much demand, we could see prices stabilize out. But if the demand increases as the supply increases, then it's going to stay along the same trajectory, likely. Neela says, thank you so much, Russell. I always listen to you and your videos. God bless you more. Thank you so much for tuning in, Neela. I really appreciate it. I have a lot of fun doing this and hanging out with all of you. It's such a blast to be able to come in here and talk with so many Canadians, have this sort of community of Canadians who are interested in being up to date on this stuff, investments, real estate, Canadian benefits, Canadian news, things that matter to Canadians, right? This is about the future of our country. And I think the best way to position yourself for the future of our country is to increase your financial intelligence. That's sort of the goal here on the channel. I've been helping people understand these benefits and how they can apply for it, so that it can help them through this tricky situation. But I also want to sort of spread the ideas of how important it is to brush up on your financial intelligence and how big of an impact this can have on your life, right? The Canadian government failed us in the education system. Our provincial governments failed us in the education system because they didn't teach us properly about money and how big an effect this can have on your life. Money isn't everything, friends, family, health, but money allows you to access and enjoy those most important things even more. So that's something I'm hoping to do in the future. Sebastian says, hey, Russell, will we have to pay this money back at tax time, or will it be forgiven until the next year? I didn't quite understand. So any taxes you owe this year, you still have to do your taxes. Otherwise, there's going to be late penalties. But once you file your taxes on time, if you were in the situation where you would have had to pay the government come tax time and you weren't getting a refund, you actually had to pay the government, you can wait a year to pay that because there might be an increased amount there. If you've received these benefits and made more than you're expecting to, you could owe more in terms of taxes, but they're going to give you an interest-free period of 1 year. So you could have a double tax bill in 2 years, well, at the next tax filing juncture, but at least you'll have the time to plan for that, right? So that's what's happening. All right. Mr. Nintendo Joe says, learn to work but not manage what you work for. Yeah. Paula walking, no problem. Confusing times. I'm glad you guys are talking amongst each other here about these issues. Jerry says, my daughter is back to work part-time after being on May leave. Or mat leave maybe. She can't get more hours because she's in Alberta and it's slowly opening up. Can she apply for help? It's tricky. Like if she can apply for the CRB being on part-time work, that could potentially work, but again, you need to have the 50% less income than you've previously shown. So it's a little bit tricky there, Jerry. There's a lot of details in there. All right, let's see. Maybe I missed. Okay, Paula. Yeah, that was a good question. Does anyone know if extension is automatic for UI or do we need to reapply? We don't know yet. This announcement just happened today, this afternoon. The press conference was around 12:45-ish that they were announcing all of this stuff. So we're expecting in the coming days to get more details on it, and I'll update you here as much as I can. All right. Yang Kang Ma says, thank you, Russell, for making the update vid. The CRB extension lift up some pressure from my shoulders. Now I have more time to look for part-time jobs. Awesome. I'm glad you're a little bit less stressed. Cody says, I think this digital currency would cause a pretty big issue. Try having a garage sale for cash for extra money. I don't think it's a very good idea, but China's creating their own currency. Yeah, the digital currency, it's something that's certainly debatable, right? There are some benefits, at least from the government standpoint. You may have heard that right now, many Canadians, although it may not feel like it, there are certain groups of Canadians that are sitting on more savings right now than in the history of Canada. The highest savings rate of the history of the country. People are able to save more money right now. Now, not everybody, but many people who are able to not spend as much money during the pandemic. They're staying at home, but they still have access to their jobs. There's more savings in Canada now than ever. The benefits of a digital currency in the eyes of the government is that they could sort of code in ways that you have to use your money, right? They've been talking a lot about how do we unlock these savings so that people start spending money and improve the Canadian economy, right? they could do this with a digital currency by coding this in, right? Maybe not coding in it is the right terminology, but they could essentially say, hey, you're going to earn a negative interest rate on this, so you better go out and spend it because you're losing money as you let it sit in your account and hoard it. So it's interesting to see what's going to happen. All right. So we have a couple more questions in here. Teaspoon, I think I already answered Paula's question. Can we choose how much taxes to take off EI? I don't believe you can. I'm not the biggest expert on all things EI, but I believe that it is taxable, but I don't think you have any control over how much you take off of that. All right. Are you eligible for CRB after EI runs out? Yes, you are, as long as you meet the eligibility requirements. You can go from EI to CRB, but there has been delays for some people, so you might want to plan for that, because in order to go on CRB, you need to not be eligible for EI. When you're on EI, when your EI runs out, sometimes there's a delay between Service Canada and CRA in passing along the information that, hey, this person is now off EI, now they can apply for the CRB. So I'd recommend trying to have some savings there. All right. Yeah, maybe the Bank of Canada can issue bonds. Yeah, there's lots of options. Good questions. That's something I'm really interested in, monetary policy. It gets a little bit into the weeds and the specifics, but I really enjoy a channel here on YouTube called Steve Saretsky. He's a realtor out in Vancouver, great analyst of financial markets, and I've learned a lot from watching his videos. I'm a big fan, and he talks a lot about this sort of thing as well. But I'm planning on bringing more content on the channel too. All right. Well, I think with that said, we're going to wrap up here, folks. Again, thank you so much for tuning in. I'm so glad so many of you have enjoyed hopping in here, hanging out on the live stream. This is something we'll definitely do in the future. I really appreciate you guys supporting Canadian content. There's really not that much of it on YouTube, especially proportional to all the content for the States. So that's sort of my goal here, to bring this sort of content for you guys so that there's more of a representation of us on here. If you haven't already, feel free to subscribe, like this video, hit the notification bell, all that stuff. I can really see this as the people who come in here on the live streams. These are the people that I really want to thank the most for hanging out and supporting the channel. And I think we can sort of work as a team to sort of grow up Canadian content like this, grow the community. Hopefully more YouTubers like myself come in here and provide Canadian content like this. And you can show your support for this kind of content by sharing my videos, by liking the videos, subscribing, right? By seeing more and more Canadian content getting pushed to more people via the YouTube algorithm. If you interact with the videos, I'm thinking more people will see, hey, it's a good idea for me to create this content. People want to see it. And I think that that's what would happen. But I want to say thank you to everyone for tuning in. I really enjoy making all of this content for you. I really hope this has helped you out at least a little bit. I'll do my classic video sign off, and I'll see you next time. All right. Bye, guys. Have a good one. Hope that was a good announcement for you. Have a good weekend.